Chapter 1 of syllabus is Introduction to Environmental Studies. Let us first understand what environment means. Environment means immediate surroundings of an individual. So, when we happen to visit a place and we return back, we tend to describe our experience as it was a pleasant environment, it was an unpleasant environment. So, in general terms, we usually refer to environment as our immediate surroundings. The definition of environment is that it is a complex of physical, chemical, and biotic factors that act upon an organism or an ecological community and ultimately determine its form and survival. Now, let us break this definition and understand it word by word. Now, by means of physical factors, we mean to say the temperature, pressure, light, rainfall of a particular region. Then, chemical factors, these are essentially the organic and inorganic factors that are present in the environment, such as the gases, different elements, and so on. Then we say about the biotic factors. Biotic factors means the living organisms like plants, animals, bacteria, and so on. So, all of these, that is the physical, chemical, and biotic factors, they act upon an organism, okay, or an ecological community as a whole. And all of them, they are interconnected or interdependent. So ultimately, this will determine the form and survival of that organism. So that is referred to as environment. Okay, so it is a complex of physical, chemical, and biotic factors that act upon an organism, which will ultimately determine its form and survival. The four major components of environment are lithosphere, hydrosphere, atmosphere, and biosphere. So let us first look at the lithosphere. Let us break this term and try to understand what it actually means. Lithos means stone, and sphere is a globe or a ball. So, the outermost solid part, composed mainly of rocks, is nothing but the lithosphere. Okay? And you all know that the interior of the earth comprises of three layers. As we go deeper, the nature of the interior of the earth becomes liquid. Okay, so the rocky outer part is the crust. Then comes the mantle, okay, and then comes the core. Now, outer core is in liquid form and inner core is in solid form. So, the form of the three layers is also different. But lithosphere, when we say that lithosphere is a component of environment, we consider two layers, that is crust and the upper mantle. So these two layers, which are solid, they comprise the lithosphere. Now, this layer is comparatively cooler, okay, compared to mantle and liquid, this core. So as one moves from the crust to mantle to core, the temperature goes on increasing. So lithosphere is comparatively cooler to other two layers of the earth. Then this supports life, isn't it? So the rocks that are found on the surface, they are weathered by different agencies like wind, water, isn't it? And because of that, they are broken into smaller particles and soil is formed. Whatever is the parent rock or whatever is the composition of parent rock, those elements will be definitely present in the soil that is formed from that type of rock. So the soils that we get in different regions are because of the different types of rocks that were present in the past. So this lithosphere comprises of elements like aluminium, iron, calcium, sodium, potassium, magnesium, oxygen, silicon, and all of these they are required for the living beings. Hence, it supports life. Then the second component is hydrosphere. Let us try to understand what is hydrosphere. Hydro means water and sphere again is blue. So the total amount of water found on the earth is nothing but the hydrosphere. Okay. Now this water exists as salt water and fresh water. Salt water, you all know, it is in oceans and seas, and fresh water, it is in the form of rivers, streams, and also ice. Unfortunately, whatever amount of water exists on the earth, 97% is ocean water or salt water. So it is inaccessible, and only 3% is fresh water. Out of that 3%, 70% is locked in glaciers, and rest 30% is available in the form of underground water and the one which is present in rivers, lakes, and streams. Again, the accessible water which is available, out of that, most of it is in the form of groundwater, and very little percent, that is 1.36, is the surface water. So the main elements of water are oxygen and hydrogen. Water is very, very important for the survival of all living beings. The third component of environment is atmosphere. Atmosphere is a protective envelope around the lithosphere and hydrosphere that protects the life from the harmful radiations. It is composed of several layers: the troposphere, stratosphere, mesosphere, and thermosphere. Troposphere is essentially important because it supports life. Atmosphere is a mixture of many gases: nitrogen, oxygen, carbon dioxide, carbon monoxide, and several inert gases as well. Stratosphere consists of ozone layer, which is important to absorb the ultraviolet radiations coming from the sun, harmful ultraviolet radiations that come from the sun. So we can define atmosphere as a protective layer or envelope of gases surrounding the earth. And the fourth component is the biosphere. Biosphere is a part of the planet or part of the earth where life exists. So we can say that it is the interface where all the three components, other three components, that is atmosphere, hydrosphere, and lithosphere, they will interact and support the life. So we can say biosphere is rightly a zone of life where all the other three components of the environment make it possible for the organisms to survive and live. Then the next topic is multidisciplinary nature of environmental studies. Now, multi means many, and discipline means different academic courses or subjects for that matter. Now, environmental studies is a integrated subject which applies knowledge from several other streams to study the environment. Now, in order to understand the environment, one has to understand basic subjects like life sciences and physical sciences. For studying environment, one needs to know what is the composition of different species that are present, that may be of plants, animals, bacteria. So life sciences helps to study the species composition of the environment. Then the physiological processes of these organisms, their survival strategies, and their interaction with non-living organisms. Then physical sciences enables us to study the climate of a particular region. So several temperature conditions, then light conditions, pressure, rainfall, soil composition, in terms of different elements that are present. All of this can be all of this can be understood by studying physical sciences. Thus, both of these subjects, that is life sciences and physical sciences, helps us to study environmental science. Then the statistical approach to study the environment is very, very important because statistics is related to collection of data, analyzing it, and draw certain interpretations based on the data analysis. For example, if one needs to study species diversity, that might be of plant, animal, so one can study that with the help of statistics. Then again, the distribution of different species and also the inorganic factors of the environment can be studied by statistics. Also, nowadays, you know that population of a given endangered species, lot of statistical methods are involved in that. So, for example, tiger census. So, statistics is extremely helpful to studying the environment. Nowadays, the data which is available of past years is used to prepare several models that simulate natural conditions using computer programs. So, the implication of doing this is one can compare the environment which is at present and also in the past, and it can help to predict future conditions to some extent. And also, this will help the governments in designing their policies well in advance. For example, the most of the resources that are present in the environment are limited. We can say them as non-renewable resources. So, by studying the computer models that are prepared, one can definitely form strategies to look for alternative energy sources. So you know that Indian government has launched International Solar Alliance, and we are stressing on the need for alternative energy sources like sun, wind, and tidal energy. So we are going to increase the consumption of energy from these sources. Thus, a statistical approach or the models that are prepared using computer programs, they are extremely helpful to understand changing environment and also to formulate certain policies that will have long-term effects. Also, if there is any natural calamity in a particular region, and if that region is facing that kind of disaster since past few years, one can help to predict a future calamity with the help of these models. For example, tsunamis. Then the next subject, which is gaining momentum in recent years, is environmental economics. Environmental economics, it studies the economic effects of environmental policies around the world. So, the development that humans have done over the years, it should not compromise the environment. That is the basic idea. The resources should be managed in a profitable manner. For example, if an area having forest is cleared for some infrastructure projects, in that case, there are economic losses to the local communities. The forest is a source of livelihood for the local communities that are found in that region. So, what will be the effects, particularly the economic losses or economic effects of such policies? That question is being addressed by environmental economists. Also, you must have heard that there is a ban on um, crackers. So there is always this in news that crackers should be banned. Yes, because they cause a lot of noise pollution and also air pollution. But when we suggest such policies or such ideas, do we really have effective alternatives for that? In terms of crackers, CSIR has developed safe crackers, environmentally safe crackers. So we do have an alternative for that. But when a source of livelihood of people is lost because of environmental, forest degradation, deforestation, are these people provided with an alternative source of livelihood? So all these questions are being addressed by environmental economists. Then social implications of environmental change. Now this we can say that initially, so how cities are formed. Initially, there is a forest land. It is cleared for agriculture. There's a village is formed, and then the village slowly develops into a city. So, from forest to village to city, the place where this change is happening undergoes a lot of change in the environment. For example, the life of people living in forest is completely different from that living in cities. Then there are lifestyle changes. So their food habits change, their survival choices change. And when we say that cities are formed, it is mostly towards non sustainability because cities produce more waste than any other forms of settlement. So, the social implications of environmental change helps us to study environment in detail. Then, laws for sustainable environmental management. Several laws are framed by different countries in order to keep their resources for the future generations, protecting their environment so the future generations would also reap the benefits of the resources. So in India, we have Environment Protection Act 1986, then Water Act, Air Act, Forest Conservation Act, and there are many laws that protect the environment. So, thus, the laws they are essentially helpful in management of the environment. For example, if a forest has to be cleared for any infrastructure project, the assessment of the loss in the biodiversity and economic losses are taken into consideration, and a detailed report is prepared nowadays. So that is known as environmental impact assessment. So the discipline of law also helps in managing the environment. And then today, different technologies are used to treat environmental problems. Environmental problems like pollution, which is a greater issue today, be it the air pollution, then the soil pollution, water pollution. So, all of it is being addressed using different technologies. You might have heard of certain organisms which are employed in cleaning of heavy metal contamination. They absorb heavy metals and therefore they are used to clean the soils and rivers of these heavy metals. Then there are also sophisticated instruments designed by several institutes which help in absorbing the polluted gases or the gases which are mainly harmful from the environment and try to clean the air. So, environmental studies is totally an integrated subject in which knowledge from all the other disciplines is used to study environment in great detail. So this is a chart showing multidisciplinary nature of environmental studies. So on one hand, we use technology to address environmental issues or problems like pollution, then limited natural resources that are available so that we can develop technologies to harness the non-renewable to harness the renewable energy resources like sunlight and use it as an alternative source of energy. Then basic sciences like life sciences and physical sciences, they help us to study the species composition, the behaviors of different species in the environment, and physical sciences help us to study the climate of a particular region. Then the social awareness and management about the environment is done through laws. So several laws have been formulated to create awareness in people about the environment, and also for the effective management of the environment. And economics. Economics help us to study the economic effects of environmental policies. So all of these disciplines, they are useful in studying environment in great detail. So environmental studies is essentially a multidisciplinary subject. Scope and importance of environmental studies. Let us first look at the scope of environmental studies. First is pollution control. By studying the environment, we can devise new strategies and technologies for effective monitoring and reducing pollution. Environmental pollution today is a big concern. All forms of pollution, they have detrimental effect on human health. Air pollution is responsible for causing a number of respiratory issues to human beings. The main source of air pollution is the vehicle exhaust, then the smoke that is left let out from the chimneys, then stubble burning in some areas. So, studying all these help us to devise strategies to tackle these problems. For example, you must have heard of odd even schemes implemented in some polluted cities, where the vehicles with odd number plate are permitted on certain days and those with even number plate are permitted on other. Then at many places you might see boards displaying the concentration of different gases that are present in the air. So accordingly, the air quality is classified as good, poor, excellent. Also, it helps us to develop technologies to harvest alternative sources of energy, such as solar energy, wind energy, tidal energy, and now hydrogen as a possible fuel. So you also see today that electric vehicles are a better alternative to petrol and diesel vehicles to reduce air pollution. Then agricultural runoffs from chemical factories into water are responsible for water pollution. So several river cleaning projects have been undertaken. For example, River Ganga. Soil is mainly polluted by heavy metals, then plastic. So several waste disposal disposal measures are undertaken, wherein the waste is segregated at the home itself into dry and liquid waste. Then sophisticated technologies are developed to recycle plastic waste, electronic waste. So, environmental studies help us to effectively manage all these issues. Then, second scope is conservation. Conservation comprises of conservation of various species that are found on the earth. Now, these species sometimes they may be a keystone species. So, keystone species are those which are very crucial for the integrity of the ecosystem. They define an entire ecosystem because of which they need to be conserved. For example, tiger. So, conservation of species is needed to prevent their extinction. Also, many natural resources are non renewable, they are limited. For example, fossil fuels. Therefore, they should be effectively conserved so that they last longer on Earth. Then, ecological studies. Ecology is the study of interaction of biological communities with one another and also with their physical factors. You know, in an ecosystem, different organisms they constantly interact with others for their food and also with the physical factors of the environment because physical factors will essentially influence their survival. So the distribution of these species, then composition of the biological organisms, all of it can be understood by studying the environment. Ecology also deals with the study of various nutrient cycles, that is the sulfur cycle, then phosphorus cycle, water cycle, and how these cycles are important for maintaining the environmental balance. And fourth is social issues related to it. Social issues they arise when a particular land, for example, a forest, has been cleared for an infrastructure project. The forest might have tribal people living there or the local inhabitants. For example, if one needs to build a dam across the river, rivers are usually surrounded by the forest area. So in that case, there needs to be displacement of those people if the forest area is going under the dam. In that case, if people are needed to be displaced, are they provided alternative homes? Are they provided an alternative source of livelihood? Well, all these questions are addressed by studying the environment. So it also studies the social issues that are related to it. Then climate change. Climate change is occurring because of the global warming of the Earth's atmosphere. This is due to greenhouse gases. Greenhouse gases, carbon dioxide, carbon monoxide, then methane, halogenated compounds, all of these, they absorb the sun's radiation or heat that is being reflected from the earth back into the space. So they form a protective, not protective, they form a blanket and prevent the escape of radiation back into the space. Because of which there is increase in the temperature of the earth, and this has led to melting of glaciers. As the glaciers melt, they lead to increase in the sea level. So the people which are inhabiting islands, they are at the greater risk. Then the last scope that can be discussed is impact of increasing human population. Currently, the population of world is around 8 billion. Population increases geometrically, but the resources that are available, they are limited, particularly the non-renewable resources. In that case, an increasing human population with a limited resource such as land or food or fossil fuel becomes a burden on the particular region. So, what will be the impact of this increasing population that can be dealt with environmental studies? Thus, environmental studies, it covers a wide range of issues impacting human life, and for that matter, other living organisms as well. Then let us look at what is the importance of environmental studies. Environmental studies create a sense of awareness among people to protect biodiversity. Biodiversity is diversity of biological organisms that are found in a particular region. Now, why to protect biodiversity? Living organisms are highly important in maintaining the ecological balance. For example, I told you about keystone species. Then there are useful microorganisms that are responsible for that are responsible for fixation of nitrogen and convert that into nitrates, which are the beneficial compounds required for plant growth. So, therefore, it is extremely necessary to protect biodiversity so as to maintain the ecological balance. Then the second is conservation of energy. Energy resources that are used today mainly comprise of fossil fuels like petrol, diesel, and which are obtained from fossil fuels, petrol and diesel. In that case, introducing the alternative sources of energy is highly recommended or important now. So the energy resources that are available, they should be available on Earth for a longer duration. So what alternative sources of energy? India has launched International Solar Alliance. So the countries which fall into the tropical and subtropical zone, they can devise technology to harvest solar energy. And India also has a target to increase uh, the power that can be generated from the renewable energy resources. Then, environment impact assessment. Environment impact assessment is, suppose a public infrastructure project has to be implemented. For that, obviously, land is required. And in that case, if forests are cleared, so what will be the impact of that project on the environment? What will be the number of loss in terms of species, their diversity also, that may be plant diversity, animal diversity. It might comprise of the species that are specific to that region. Then also, if a public infrastructure project is conducted, in that case, if there is displacement of people from one place to other, are these people provided with alternative source of livelihood? Do they adapt to new place effectively? So again, there is loss of habitat of several animals, plants. So what impact of a particular project will be there on the environment is done by environment impact assessment people, and they have certain skills for that. Then it also helps to devise new techniques for management, treatment, and disposal of waste. Plastic is a major problem today, so the methods are devised to recycle it and dispose it in an effective manner. Then treatment of waste before it is being discharged in any water body or soil for that manner. Then segregation of waste at home itself into dry and liquid. And then again, in at a larger level where there are huge factories, so sophisticated technologies are devised to remove the pollutant material. It also creates a sense of responsibility in the individuals towards the environment. Do you all know that it is our fundamental duty to protect the environment? So people should feel responsible towards the environment. The behavior should be responsible towards the environment, and it helps to achieve sustainable development. Now, what is sustainability and sustainable development? Sustainability is the ability of Earth's various systems, including human cultural systems and economics, to survive and adapt to changing environmental conditions. So, that was sustainability. Sustainable development was defined in the year 1987, which says meeting the needs of the present without compromising the ability of future generations to meet their own needs. That means the resources that are available today, they have to be used and managed in a particular manner that the future generations should also be benefited from them. The future generation should not be deprived of these resources. So that is a sustainable development. Now this concept originated for first time in Stockholm Conference in Sweden in the year 1972. And in this conference, for the first time, it was emphasized that development should be accompanied by social and economic equity. So development has to take place, but people have to be benefited equally. So this led to creation of World Conservation Strategy and Earth Summit in 1992 at Brazil. You see, there are three pillars of sustainable development. Sustainable development means there has to be economic development. Country has to progress economically. There has to be social development. Its people also have to be benefited from the advancement that has taken place. But at the same time, environment should be protected. Now, the biggest example of sustainable development is biggest example of sustainable development or sustainability is the nature itself. Because see, nature runs on solar energy. It recycles its nutrients and waste. It uses its biodiversity to maintain itself, and it controls the population of organisms as well by natural checks, like certain natural calamities, we can call them. So, what we can learn from nature itself, that you have to use renewable energy sources, you have to recycle the waste, you have to protect the natural habitats, and last is that you have to keep the population, you have to devise methods for population control, frame policies in that way. So, nature itself is a huge example of sustainable development and sustainability. Yes, this it happened in 2015, where United Nations has set 17 sustainable development goals to achieve peace and prosperity to now and future generations. So when countries frame policies, they have to keep in mind these 17 goals, and the development should happen along these goals. So they are, we can say, targets for several governments to achieve sustainable development by 2030.